And with that, I welcome you into Coach's Corner. Date is Monday, May 8th. It is a nice, beautiful 9 o'clock on this Monday as the Heat are up on the Knicks 65-58 as I'm recording this. And I feel like we have to start with the NBA playoffs because it's been a nuts weekend. I've kind of briefly talked about the games here and there, but now that the draft is completely out of the way, I feel like we can really talk about the craziness of the NBA playoffs because this entire weekend was just every team that I didn't want to win won. So, with this Heat-Knicks series, the Heat ended up winning Game 3. Jimmy Butler came back. I didn't catch a lot of it on Saturday, just because work things and whatnot, but it's one of those things where the Knicks just don't look like they want to be here, and they don't look ready for the moment, and they realize they're not playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Heat do have playoff experience all throughout their roster. It's no secret that their coaching is severely better. They have the best player on the court at all times. But, it's one of those where the Knicks just didn't fight back, it felt like, on Saturday. They're just not hitting shots that they normally did, and they're paying for it. They're paying for it dearly with just subpar play, losing games. But they're fighting in this game a lot better than they did on Saturday. They're now 5, but still, the Knicks just don't look like a team that's ready to come to grips that they're playing a team that's better or hungrier in the playoffs than they are, and I feel like that's the classic scenario we have here. So that game happened. Then Saturday night, the Warriors lost to the Lakers by a bajillion. And that one was tough because I don't know. I don't know where the Warriors they're just smaller. It's so evident on the court that the Warriors are just an aggressively smaller team. They pose no real threat at the rim. If Anthony Davis wanted to really take over every game against the Warriors, he could. He didn't for the one game that they lost, but the two that they won, he's a heavily, heavily involved party. And it's just crazy because LeBron didn't even take a field goal attempt in the first quarter, didn't score that much in the first half, and they still got blown out. And part of it is I think the Warriors role players are just not stepping up. They're just not making shots. Draymond getting in foul trouble. Andrew Wiggins doesn't feel like he's doing nearly as much as he should. As he did last summer during the playoffs, he did so much more to help this team. Where now he's doing a fine job, but it's not the level they need. Klay Thompson played well. It's just those guys like Gary Payton and Moses Moody and Kevon Looney when he's in, Dante DiVincenzo. They're just not making shots that they need to. They're not playing in defense as well as they need to. They're playing bad. And so that game's happening tonight, Game 4. We'll see how that goes. And then yesterday's mess. Good Lord. So the Sixers-Celtics game, Sixers won that game in overtime due to some of the more idiotic decisions I've ever seen from a team. And I won't say they were awful, but the double team at the end where James Harden gets a wide open 3 because Jaylen Brown helps over on Embiid in the post. One of the more mind-numbing decisions I've seen play out because everyone knew in the building that James Harden was going to make that open 3 because he had been torching the Celtics all game. He was 6-9 from 3, ended that way after the final one. And I don't know. I don't know why they helped off of James Harden. The Sixers have plenty of players that you can justify, I think, helping off of. James Harden was not the one in that moment. And they paid for it dearly. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy because the Celtics have, they come out of these games that they've lost being you could have definitely won that, but it was our decision making. I don't think it was the Celtics playing, great basketball down the stretch. It was Celtics make a dumb mistake here and there, and they lose the game. And it's like, it's frustrating to watch as someone that wants them to beat the Sixers, but it's like, I don't know what the thought process is in certain scenarios. I don't know if they've just not practiced it enough. I don't know if it's just like they have the roles that they're figuring out, that they don't know, I guess. Not figuring out because they're in the playoffs, but that they just don't have defined as well as they probably should be. Because Jaylen Brown was a key factor in that game early on, and he just didn't get the ball really in fourth quarter to overtime. He just didn't really do anything, and it's like when you have two stars at the caliber of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and one of them has just been better throughout the entire game all around, I feel like you have to realize to get that guy the ball. I mean, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young on my team that I've watched more than anyone else, I mean, there's like a clear, like, if DeJounte Murray's feeling it, he's probably going to take the last couple shots at the mid-range or whatever. If Trae Young is feeling it, he's going to take some crossover, step-back three-pointers. It's just, those guys are going to get those shots when they're feeling it, when it's on. Jason Tatum figured it out later in the second half, but to start off, he wasn't as good as Jaylen Brown, nowhere near him. And I don't know what the process needs to be for the Celtics down the stretch that they kind of figure it out here. But it's like, they are the better team. They are beating themselves. So it's really up to the Celtics if they want to win this series or not. It really is, because the Sixers are playing their game. It's kind of like whatever. Joel Embiid's getting a billion points near the elbow and paint area. But, it's not like the Sixers are doing anything that are disrupting the Celtics so badly. It just feels like they're playing down or they're making dumb decisions on their own. And, yeah, like switching defenses on James Harden. James Harden has to be covered differently. Games 1, Games 4, the 2 games they've won, he scored 40 points. And then the other 2, he scored around 10, 12 points. Like, there's obviously, you have to know this guy is the X factor. This guy is the driving force. You have to figure out he has to be stopped. There's no two ways around it. Then it's Joel Embiid's going to get his. It's like, it's that simple. It's really like that simple. But it's not. It didn't click obviously towards the end of that game because they wouldn't have left James Harden open. But best of 3 series now, so we'll see how they figure this out. If they do anything different, it wouldn't shock me if they won these next 2 decisively, because like I said, the recipe is there, the formula is there. It's just, can you execute it? And then we have the Nuggets and Suns, which is a very back and forth in my brain because Nikola Jokic is probably my favorite player to watch in the NBA. I don't, like, my team included. He is so fun to watch on offense. He is so dominant in his own unique way. And me and my buddy were talking, it's kind of equating to, like, he's our Dirk. He's doing things that I've never seen a big man do, and he's a big white European. So the correlation is there, but either way, Jokic is doing everything he can, and they lose 2 games on the road against the Suns because Devin Booker cannot miss a shot. It's one of the more shocking things I've ever watched. And this kind of comes to the point where I was making where I'm conflicted because I love Jokic so much, but Devin Booker's having an unbelievable series where if he finishes it out, it's one of the best performances I've ever seen in a singular playoff series. And if he goes on to go to the conference finals, win the finals or whatever, I'll look back on it and be like, I watched Devin Booker absolutely torch the Denver Nuggets, and it's insane to watch because he's putting up so many shots, like getting a little bit of space, and he's draining them. And it's not like he's banking them in. It's not lucky shots. He's swishing them. The net is going. It's insane. It is insane to watch. And then Kevin Durant's just getting the most casual 35 points while playing poorly. And it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. And so The Suns need their role players to show up. They did in Phoenix. We'll see if they can travel. That's always kind of the joke where it's like role players play well at home. Can they travel? We'll see. And the Nuggets kind of need the same thing, but they also need their starters like Michael Porter Jr. to make shots and not do dumb decisions like he did at the end of the game where they were making a run. Nuggets were making a run towards the end to try and tie the game or win the game. And Michael Porter Jr. down 5. He just comes down in transition, takes a contested 3. I think it gets blocked from behind. It's a bad decision, just a bad decision. And so that happens, and they lose the game. And so Michael Porter Jr., I think, is the X factor for the Nuggets to really get them going. Their defenders, their wing guys have to figure something out with Devin Booker. Like, make him uncomfortable somehow. I don't know if you let him necessarily go off and just try and stop everyone else, but that's another thing is yesterday's game, they were doing so many dumb things on defense where it's like doubling off, having two guys go double Devin Booker, good thought process, but when the one defender is guarding Kevin Durant and he comes off, that's bad. That's leaving Kevin Durant open is bad. That I think we can agree on that. So it's just stuff like that. I don't know. It's like a weird mental switch the players have to make where it's like you can double this guy, you just can't double him the way that you were at the end of this game 4. So that game goes back to Denver. And that's NBA playoffs have been, I think, great. I don't think there's been a real complaint about them. It's hard to argue because the games have been relatively close and the blowouts, have been here and there, but it's like the vast majority of the games were competitive, not like from start to finish blowouts. They may end in a blowout, but it doesn't mean anything. So that's the NBA playoffs for you. That's your recap. A crazy time. Real quick, I want to transition here to the MLB because there hasn't been a ton of talk about the MLB. It's still early. It is still very early, but I feel like it's worth talking about because it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's worth talking about because it is going on. It has been pretty exciting. The games that I've watched because I'm a Braves fan, but I think in the time that I refreshed this, the Tampa Bay won another game. The Rays are just steamrolling through this regular season, and 19-3 at home, crazy. They're 29-7, best in the league, obviously, and so Rays to me always seem like they're that like prime example of a team that destroys the regular season, but can they do it in the postseason? That seems like this Rays team. Obviously, if they're doing it now, they have the possibility of doing it in the postseason because I also think teams are underperforming. But regardless, the Rays are still having a hell of a season. Great for them. Then the Baltimore Orioles. So they came to Atlanta this weekend. I watched most of the 3 games because I was like, yeah, why not? And I gotta say, they seem pretty legit. Now, 22-13 is like obviously the second best in the AL here, and they're still the second spot to the Rays. But Baltimore fought the Braves tooth and nail to the very end. The Braves weren't able to extend a lead past 1 run the entire weekend. They lost Friday night's game in blowout and then won the 2 games by 1 run. So the fight is there. And the Orioles just are, I don't know, they're a scrappy young team that definitely I think has the future, has potential. We'll see what they do, but man, great for them. But Blue Jays have been playing really good. The Red Sox have been playing really good. Well, I say the Blue Jays, they're 5-5 in their last 10, but you know what I'm saying. They're 21-14. They're doing something right. 21-15 are the Red Sox. They're 4th in the division. They'd be first place in every other division. So it makes you think. Maybe not the Texas Rangers one, but still, they're going crazy. The Yankees are 18-17. Kind of disappointing, but I think they've been banged up, so tough to judge. But yeah, Minnesota Twins are on top of their division in the Central. 3 games over 500 and is probably going to win that division, no matter who's there at the end. But they're doing good. Tigers have been playing good recently. But yeah, the White Sox, one of the more disappointing teams in the entire league, I'd say. But there's a worse team in the Midwest that is very underperforming right now. We'll get to them. But then in the West, yeah, the Texas Rangers are 20-13. I haven't heard anything about them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're doing this exactly. I'm just unaware, so good for them. The Angels, 19-16. If they can keep it up, that's good for baseball because that means Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout get more love. Then the Mariners and Astros being 17-17 here. Like I said, it's early. It's very, very early. It doesn't mean these teams can't break out of it, but it's still a little odd to see the two teams that people were very high on coming into this year both be 500 here, like exactly 500. But yeah. Then moving over to the NL, the Atlanta Braves. That's right. The Atlanta Braves 24-11. I saw something, I don't know what it was from, but it has the Braves winning the World Series at a 22% chance happening. That's a really high percentage, and I don't love it. How, like, that's really cool. I don't love how straightforward it is. But, you know, I'll take it. I'm not complaining, but yeah, so they're playing really good on the road, not as good at home. That's a weird stat, but, you know, they picked up some of those wins, like I said, against Baltimore. But, yeah, no, I mean, they had a really good road trip against, like, the Mets, Marlins duo teams. But, you know, they still need to keep winning because they clearly are the best team in this division. So, New York Mets, pretty disappointing. Philadelphia Phillies, also pretty disappointing, but they're getting Bryce Harper back, so it's kind of like, you know, you hope that he can kind of shift things, the energy maybe, and they can win some more. But, you know, they had a shakier week than they probably would like to admit. Then the story of the MLB, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think, are, you know, I would say they're like the Baltimore Energy, but they're better, like more exciting. They have, like, you know, super young, fun players. O'Neal Cruz isn't playing. He's out with an injury, so they're doing this all without him, which is even crazier. Andrew McCutchen's been hitting some home runs, so Pirates are pretty fun. They've been rough lately. But, you know, they're still having a good season. But it wouldn't shock me if the Brewers came out on top of this division. Just because, you know, young teams holding on to a lead a division lead for the entire season is just hard. But team I was referencing earlier, St. Louis Cardinals, they're 11-24, which is best. Well, it's the worst for the NL. So I was gonna say best of the worst, but they're playing god awful. They moved Wilson Contreras to outfield because he's bad at catching apparently, and I don't know. The Cardinals have quickly kind of gone down the toilet, and a team that was kind of picked, I think, to win this division, kind of them and the Brewers, to see them at the bottom here, 9.5 out of first place, I don't want to say it's over, but it feels mighty over for the Cardinals this time around. So maybe they're in a downslide if they're, like, just franchise, because, you know, they do have Paul Goldschmidt, they do have Nolan Arenado, like, those guys are fantastic, obviously, but their pitching is so bad that it has them at 11-24 here. So, tough. You hate to see it, Chief. Then the Dodgers and Diamondbacks are on top here in the West, with the Padres, you know, kind of lurking behind, but Diamondbacks, another young team that's kind of like finally showing that they're doing something right. And yeah, no, I mean, it's really cool to see teams like those, like the Diamondbacks, Pirates. Like, it's cool to see those teams finally doing something, because, you know, a lot of these teams just get buried in the division and just do nothing forever. Like, you get teams like the Reds, like Reds are 14-20. They're not going to probably be close to above 500 like at any point now in the season. So a lot of these teams like that just kind of exist, and to see the ones that have kind of climbed out of it a little bit, like the Pirates and Diamondbacks, it's cool to see. It's just cool to see. But that happened, and then the last little thing, I don't know if I can find it here on the screen before we get out of here, the Puck Minute. The Lucas Puck Minute here. Blackhawks win the NHL Draft Lottery. Potentially we get a guest on to talk about this, but regardless, Blackhawks win the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. That's what ESPN says. So obviously there's a prospect in the NHL draft that's clearly going to be the first guy picked. And yeah, no, I mean, that's really cool. That's really cool to see, a team like the Blackhawks, Original Six, I believe is what it's called, is getting the first pick here to boost their odds to, kind of, get back into relevancy. And, last time they've had the first pick, Patrick Kane, and if I'm not mistaken, he's kind of a good player. So getting a good player like this helps definitely boost that rebuild, bump it right up. So along with that, real quick, I guess we're going to do the playoff for the NHL while we continue the Puck Minute. Panthers are up 3-0 on Toronto. I know that. That's tough for the Maple Leafs, who just finally won a series, to just kind of get steamrolled here. I have, rough. That's a rough look. Then the Hurricanes and Devils here. Devils looking to fight back here finally in Game 3. They finally made it a little bit interesting after losing 5-1 and 6-1. But Hurricanes, I still kind of like to come out of that series. They've kind of just been pretty good all year long. And then the Kraken and Stars. The Kraken are up 2-1 in this series. Obviously, someone had a big game. I think it was Pavlevsky had an insane game for someone. But, Kraken on top right now, 2-1. People like the Stars, but I don't know. The expansion teams just have like a certain knack to them that make them just a super fun. In hockey, at least, they can really find success early. Then Vegas and Edmonton. It's 1-1. I think they're playing now. If I could hurry and get to them. The Golden Knights are up 2-1 at the end of the first period. But yeah, no, I mean, a pretty good series here. Connor McDavid trying to will the Oilers to the next round. We'll see. We'll see, but that'll do it for me. I don't want to say slow sports weekend, but not one that's made me like jump off the screen and like really kind of try and push my time here. But plenty of playoff action in both hockey and basketball to talk about. Obviously, want to talk some MLB. Haven't done that a lot. Kind of the old days of Coach's Corner. ATLK was built on the end of the day like scorecard where I kind of recapped all the scores. If the early listeners remember that, but not gonna do that. Not anymore. But yes, I am your host, Lucas Kochevar. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Lucas and Layla here checking out. And until next time, until Wednesday at 9. And also look out for a video tomorrow. The cereal bracket is coming. But either way,